Well, what's up again, guys? Brian here at 3TR, and I am ecstatic to give you my incredible review for the follow-up to Pixar's 2004 instant classic, simply titled Incredibles 2. Now, it's crazy to believe that it has been 14 years, and I'm sure this is something that every reviewer is going to point out, since the first film came out. I'm currently 27 years old. The first film came out when I was just entering high school, and despite so much time having passed since that first film was originally released, I'm happy to say that though I wish this film had come out sooner, even though I honestly didn't expect we ever needed an Incredibles follow-up, I'm happy it exists, and it's absolutely well worth the wait. Now, in terms of behind the scenes, everyone pretty much returns. Brad Bird comes back as director. Many of the cast members, in terms of the voice cast members, did make the return. There's a couple of new voices. I don't want to spoil who, but overall, everyone did a fantastic job. There's definitely some characters that got a lot more screen time than others than they did in the first film, and that doesn't really overall hurt the film. But it does open a lot of doors, and I will say that by the end, they have to get an Incredibles 3 out very, very quickly, because there's just so many things this film does right. I just don't want to have to wait another 14 years to see where this story continues, because it leaves off in a very, very positive high note. Now, to go into the plot without spoiling too much, this film literally takes place right where the first film ended, with the Incredibles family taking on the Underminer. Now, after having dealt with him, let's just say that the Incredibles family gets into a little bit of trouble, but there is a bit of spark of hope, because Elastigirl is then selected to become kind of the face and spokesperson as to why supers should no longer be illegal. So while Elastigirl is out, you know, dealing with crimes, Bob, Mr. Incredible, has to stay at home with the kids, and he's basically has to play the at-home dad, dealing with the kids and their sort of issues and needing to help them out with their problems with school and, you know, personal issues, and dealing with, you know, Jack Jack's new powers. And there is a very powerful amount of heart between the two story arcs, and I really wasn't expecting that much. Now, I will say that the star of this film, without question, is Elastigirl. If you're someone who really liked Elastigirl in the first film, you're going to absolutely be blown away with how much they amp her up in this film. She has by far the best action sequences. She has the most creative use of her powers, which I had never even seen a character like this use their powers to this degree. It is incredible. This really showed what she could really do when she's on her A game. Another thing I was also really impressed with was the use of Frozone. I thought Frozone was kind of like a side character in the first film. I'm happy to say that he's given a lot more screen time, far more line, and a lot more to do, and you even get to see a lot more of his powers in this film, which I really appreciated, because Frozone was someone I really wish had more time in the first film. I would say the Incredibles kids with Violet and Dash, they're not given as much screen time, but what screen time they are given, it is used very, very effectively. And I have to say, Jack, whew, wow, did they knock it out of the park with this baby. I mean, at first, the whole shockness of having to see how many powers he has is incredible, but I'm going to tell you by far my favorite scene, which it might even be a scene stealer for all of you guys as well. I'm not going to spoil too much of it, but there is a certain amount of interaction between Jack and Etna that steals the show. It had the biggest reaction in my theater, and they have to continue this in Incredibles 3. Do not make us wait another 14 years to have a sequel. I want an Incredibles 3 movie coming out within the next 5 years. I want to see this relationship between Jack and Edna continue, because it was just pure, it was magical. It was magical. The action set pieces were incredible. The overall visuals was definitely amped up. This movie looks significantly better than Incredibles 1. It also introduces a number of other supers that have powers that some are a little bit weird, but some of them we've kind of seen in other franchises. And they aren't given as much screen time, but I think the door is left open to kind of see where they will go if a sequel to Incredibles 2 is made. Now, if I had any real issue with this movie, it's only two of them, but they're very, very small. The first issue is that, unfortunately, they do add a little bit of something in this film that has ruined, say, other Disney-owned properties. Star Wars! Oh, sorry. But it's unavoidable. They do kind of throw in a couple of feminist ideas, but it's not as bad as I'm explaining it because it is used somewhat effectively, which for a Disney Pixar film I would not have expected. But really the biggest problem that I had with Incredibles 2 was really the villain. The villain for me was a bit too obvious, and they don't do a good job of trying to hide it. The second that this character shows up, you know they're the villain. It's poorly handled. I mean, just the way they act, the way they dress, their attitude towards certain characters, one character in particular, you know they're the villain, and every time they're on screen, you're just expecting, when are they going to turn bad? When are they going to turn heel? Stop wasting my time. When is this going to happen? We know what's going to happen. And it was just the waiting that I thought was annoying. Their motivation was somewhat understandable, but it's just the fact that with Syndrome, that was a complete shock to me. I didn't really know what his connection with Mr. Incredible was going to be, but for this particular villain, I just thought it was somewhat lacking. But that does not hurt the overall experience that you will have for this film, because it does a lot of things better in the first film, despite having those two little flaws that I had with the film. This is absolutely a must-see for anyone who loved the first film. Take your friends, take your family, see this multiple times. You'll get a lot of enjoyment and laughs, and I'm gonna go as far as to say that this is without question the best movie I have seen so far this year. It gets the first A+ rating that I've given on my channel this year, a series contender for movie of the year. Please give us an Incredibles 3 very, very quickly. Do not make me wait another 14 years. And yeah, I don't really know what else to say. I love this film, and to think that this was a film that I didn't think needed to be made, but now that it's out now, I'm glad it was made. So, those are my thoughts on Incredibles 2. If you've seen this film, please share your thoughts with me and everyone else in the comments down below. Please no spoilers, because I want everyone to see this and have a great experience at the theaters seeing this film. And tell me, what were your thoughts on the film also? Share your thoughts with me and everyone else in the comments down below, and please be sure to press one of the links in the description down below to follow me on Twitter and friend me on Facebook to keep track of me on my future videos. And like always, thank you guys for watching. You're awesome, and I will see you next time.